Hi, I'm Matt Felice, and you're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi, and welcome to ForBassPlayersOnly.com. I'm John Liebman, founder and first baseman. You know, a lot of people think they're too old or it's too late for them to learn how to play an instrument. So I created ForBassPlayersOnly.com for people mostly over 50 who want to play bass because I believe you're never too old and it's never too late to experience the joy and the pleasure of making music. ForBassPlayersOnly.com. That's what we're all about. We've got a special guest this week. I like to highlight some of the success stories of some of the music students, the bass students at ForBassPlayersOnly.com inside the Bottom Line Club and Power Grooving Digital Course and some of the other resources I have for learning bass. And today we're talking to Matt Felice from New York, but I think you're down in Florida right now. Is that right, Matt?
That's correct. I'm in Florida.
Lucky you in May, but I lived in Florida for 6 years, and I remember how it gets in June, July, August, September. So I hope you have air conditioning.
Absolutely. And ceiling fan.
Well, there you go. Well, I'd like the people to know a little bit about your story. I know you're kind of semi-retired, so you're still sort of working, but you have an interest in the bass. And did you dabble in guitar or bass when you were younger? I mean, how'd you get mixed up in all this bass stuff?
Well, I never did play the guitar, but I was interested in the bass from an early age. I guess I come from a musical family. My parents both enjoyed music. They weren't musicians, but they did enjoy. There's always music playing in the house. I have a couple of sisters. Both play piano. One also plays banjo, guitar, cello. So she's recently taken up cello. She's older than I am. So it's just, I've always liked the bass. I guess, caught that bass line when I would listen to music. And, my father always had Al Hurt playing and Herb Alpert, that kind of stuff. A lot of country things, Glenn Campbell, Roger Miller, some things like that. And just having older brother and sisters, I was always turned on to music. And the bass caught my ear and I liked it. I always wanted to play it. And so I did take lessons as a young man in my teens. And I guess into my early 20s, I dabbled here and there and, jammed with a bunch of different guys at different times. And just, I just always loved the bass. I always loved the bass.
Strictly electric bass, or did you play any upright as well?
I'll say strictly electric. There was a class I took. It was a 6-month, about a half a year, one semester class at a community college I went to, and it was about music, learning about music, playing for groups. I did work for senior services, so it was like the recreation end of things, how to, entertain people. And there was an upright bass, and I did play that very, very little bit. I don't even know what the positions are and so forth, but it was pretty basic stuff. But,
your story is very interesting and a bit unusual, kind of refreshing, actually. I've interviewed a lot of bass players, and the story with almost all of them is, well, I really wanted to play guitar, but there were already plenty of guitar players. And that's actually my story. It was, you can play bass and be in the band, or you can play guitar and not be in the band. And so
right.
then I fell in love with the bass. And that's the story of so many people. So it's interesting that you were attracted to the bass right from the beginning. And
Yeah, I really was. I like the sound of it. And if I did, see a band, and I watched what the bass player was doing even before I, decided to pick it up myself. So.
Well, you mentioned a lot of the music your dad was listening to and what was being played in the house, but what about the stuff that you were into? Were you into rock and roll growing up? Were there any particular bands that you especially liked that had really good bass players?
I liked all the classic rock stuff. My uncle, I have an uncle that was big time into jazz. He used to listen to Oscar Peterson, Ahmad Jamal, Johnny Hartman, that stuff. So whoever the bass players were that were playing, I know A friend of mine, he turned me on to Return to Forever and Stanley Clarke and things like that. So, I mean, you know, you hear and then go and see those guys live, and it just, you know, I got to play this. You know, I got to learn. I got to play better, practice more, things like that. I mean, you know, to aspire, I don't really aspire to be a Stanley Clarke, but just I really appreciate the, you know, the talent and the level of musicianship these guys possess. It's just unbelievable.
Absolutely. When I was in high school, my best friend, still my best friend to this day, over 50 years later, and he turned me on to Return to Forever. And I'd seen all of those guys individually. I'd seen Chick and I'd seen Stanley. But one time, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago, the original four guys got together: Chick Corea, Stanley Clarke, Lenny White, and Al Di Meola. And I told my wife, this is like the Beatles getting together again. You know, I have to go. I have to go. And I went, and man, that's a lot of notes that were played that night.
I want to say that I saw them, and it was probably mid '80s.
Mm-hmm.
That exact lineup, and I have seen Stanley Clarke a couple times also at a smaller club in Buffalo, New York. And it was unbelievable, you know, one of these more intimate venues, and he's like right there. And it's just, you know, trying to watch and listen at the same time. But I listen to a lot of classic rock, and I've been to a lot of jazz concerts, and, you know, some classical stuff and Philharmonics. And I just really, I like almost all of it.
True music lover. So what about what when you joined the Bottom Line Club? Was there a specific problem or a frustration or a goal or something? I mean, what were you looking to get out of it when you wanted to continue with the bass or learn more with the bass?
Well, when I played, a lot of things, I was never really great at like picking things out by ear. Usually the guy playing guitar or something would say, here, this is kind of what they're doing. And as I listened to the song, I go, you know, then of course things were better, and could always kind of read the chart a little bit as far as what chords, and I knew what notes went with what chord that a guitarist or keyboard player was playing. And I kept it pretty simple, which always worked for me, to play like roots and fifths and throw in a third here and there. And
bass player will never get fired for playing too many roots.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good. But I had a couple of your books, and the one was the bass aerobics, and I liked that, and I liked playing along with it. I liked the ability to when I first had it was a CD, but you know, now with all this technology, you can go in and just pick out a certain part, so many measures, whatever you want to play, and isolate that part, really work on it. And I think that helped me learn to read a little bit better too. I could read music, you know, bass clef, but just not real fluently. And I want to say that I was on YouTube looking around at some different things, and I saw one of your, I guess you'd say it was a free lesson on YouTube. I remember going, that's the same guy that I have that book for, you know, the little picture in the book. So good to have that in there. And I took, you know, read a couple of those free lessons and sat through those, and I thought, I'd really like to check this out more. And of course, there's a little, for further information, check us out. And I did, and I really, the Bottom Line Club, that was just a great thing to learn. I mean, some of the things, the real, you know, basic beginner things, I kind of knew that stuff, but I went through it anyway, and it just helped me a lot. It helped me immensely to learn how to read, and some of these different things with dotted notes, and you know, I don't know the proper terminologies for them, but it's really, boy, it's just helped me a lot. I mean, I've learned a lot.
Well, that's great. I checked this morning. You've been with the Bottom Line Club for about 2 years. I didn't realize it had been that long. It goes pretty fast. Time flies.
It does. Yeah, me either. And I really like playing that. I like playing along with it. I love the fact that you can, you know, slow it down and listen again. I can print everything out. I do. I have a whole binder full. I print everything out and read it. I'll work on it on my own. I have a little I'm sure most people do, a little drum beat app on my tablet or my phone. And some of it I try to play at different, with different beats and things like that. So I just, I like it a lot. It's great. I want to say I love it. I do.
Been transitioning with the audio tracks because now the new lessons and eventually all the lessons will have the variable speed audio tracks that you're talking about right on my site, one with bass and one without bass. So you can either play along with me, or you can just jam along and you can slow it down, or you can speed it up. So a lot of people really like that part of it as well.
Yeah, I don't speed it up too often, but I do like when you play through it again. We're going to play through it a little slower, slower this time. I like that, even if it's, I don't want to say a simple bass line, but I would tend to rush it if I didn't do that. You slow it down, and it's like, now I have to think to play slower. Try to play slower. It's really not always that easy to play slow.
That's right. Sometimes it's even harder to play it slower than to play it at the regular tempo. And what I always kind of laugh at if I'm playing something slow to begin with, a ballad or something, and I say, well, now here's the point at which I normally say, now we're going to slow it down and play it again. But I am going to do that because there are a few parts that might be a little intricate for you, or to your point just now, sometimes it is more challenging to play it slowly, but that really nails it if you can play it really slowly, sometimes even painfully or even uncomfortably slowly. That really helps you when you speed it up and play it at the normal tempo or even at a fast tempo.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's the one lesson, that chops lesson, the number 10. I thought, oh, I'll never figure that. I'll never be able to play that. And you play through it slow, and I'll play a few measures at a time until I get it down, and then I'm move up to the fast one. I go, I got it, and then I'll play the slow again. I go, there's a couple notes I've been missing, but it's good stuff. It's really good. It's easy to navigate. I love that. It's so easy to navigate. Find out, keep progress on there. You set it up right. You really did.
Well, thank you very much. And the chops, yeah, it's important to build your bass technique, but I'm also very careful to express that this is all a means to an end. It's not about playing, 50,000 16th notes a minute. It's good to develop your muscles and your proficiency in your bass technique, but it's all about the groove. It's all about making music feel good, locking in with the drummer, setting the foundation for the band. So what about some of the different styles and genres? Do you have any favorite courses in the Bottom Line Club that are just so much fun to play?
I have to say that I like the jazz one a lot. I thought the soft rock was quite challenging for me. What is it? Is there like a funk in there?
There's a funk R&B, and there's also a slapping. So you're probably referring to the finger style funk R&B.
Yeah, finger style slapping. I do like that. I guess it's something that's always been a challenge for me. I have made progress in it, but I don't really gravitate toward that first. But I do like it, and I'm making some progress there. But it's all, it's what you put into it also. I do spend a lot of time with the bass, a lot more now since I've been a member of the Bottom Line Club. I pick up the bass daily for a minimum of, half hour to 45 minutes, even more now. If you average it out over a 7-day week, because there's some days I'm in here, this is a room I practice, and I'm in here for a couple hours, and now my wife's out of town for a week or so I'll be in here even more.
Has she ever commented on, hey, you're sounding better, or, oh, that's really grooving, or I feel like dancing, anything like that?
Absolutely. She's because I'll close these doors, and once she'll come in and she'll say, what are you closing the door for? It sounds really good. She'll say, she has said, and this isn't for this interview video or whatever. She said, since you've, been online taking these lessons with this guy, being you, she said, you really have made progress. You've really made progress. And that's, that says a lot for, Bottom Line Club and so forth for Bass Players Only. But really it's that I want to get in front of the music stand and just, get to it. I really do. I love it. If all I ever do is come in here and play every day, it makes me happy. But I'm improving because I enjoy it, not because I'm trying to get better. It's happening. It's just happening. It's great.
Oh, that's so great to hear. And when you see your wife, tell her thank you from me that she said that. At what point did you start to notice a transformation in your playing once you joined the Bottom Line Club?
I want to say probably right away within a week, just because, like I said, I got right on it. It was structure. There was structure to it. I think before I came in and I grabbed the book, and that would be the bass aerobics book, and I'd really just work on one lesson, a week at a time, and it was great. I mean, and I was making some progress, but right away with Bottom Line Club, I mean, just the way it's organized, and right away, right, put more structure to my practice. Sometimes I'd be like, should I play scales? Should I just play these arpeggios, or just one fret at a time up and down the neck? And not that that's bad stuff, but I wasn't. Now what? And this is really. I even listen to songs now and hear things that I'm playing through your lessons. Midnight Train to Georgia. I listened to the Carpenters a couple of days ago, their version of Mr. Postman, and I just listened to that bass line. I'm going, this is great. And I listen to the sort of country, the Mavericks, a lot. I listen to them a lot, and it's pretty much just like you say, how the songs are structured and so forth, but nothing flashy, but boy, dead on. That guy's he's great. I saw him not too long ago. The band, they're really good.
I was supposed to see them this month. My good buddy Ed Friedland, who I just interviewed, a month or two ago. He was interview number 800 on ForBassPlayersOnly.com.
I watched that. Yeah.
And he left the band. He said 8 years, it's enough. I remember how excited he was when he first got that gig. He couldn't stop talking about it. He was 4 feet off the floor, but I guess 8 years is enough. And now he looks very relaxed and just enjoy. I'm sure he'll do something else. He's not done by any means. He's still.
No, boy, they're good. He was great.
Yeah.
No spotlight bass solos or anything like that, but just he was holding it down.
Real bad. Well, I think you touched on this a little bit already, Matt, but what can you do now that you couldn't do before on the bass?
Oh, my timing is way better. I don't think it was ever like horrible, but the timing is way better. Just being able to lock in the different styles of music, some of these different feels I definitely have down. My reading is way better. I didn't even realize how much better my reading was until I looked back at an old walking jazz thing that I had printed out from somewhere. It might have been one of your books. It could have been something from another competitor. No, I think I had a Jeff Berlin thing printed out, and I picked it up and I set it on the music stand. I go, what was this doing? It was in the back of something, and I set it up on the music stand, and probably 99% nailed it. And I was like, hey, cool, I didn't know I could do that. So that was good, that kind of thing. But playing the different feels, like I say, when I put that app on that has all these different drum beats and everything, and just looking at one of your, like the basic rock groove, F7, B flat 7, that type of thing, and just playing with that groove, whether it's roots and fifths or whatever it might be, more feel, locking in.
That's great. Now you also have my digital course, Power Grooving, and I know you've only had that for about a month or so I don't know how much time you had to get into it, but it's really designed to take your grooving deeper and to show you how you can take the groove concepts and apply them to any style of music, every style of music. So with your early, just your limited time that you've had with it so far, would you say that's a pretty accurate description, or is it too soon to tell?
It's an accurate description. I like it. I'm just in the second module, I guess. But I play through it. I'm the type of person. I think the third one's, opened up for me or whatever. But I like to play through it, and pretty much I want to be able to nail it, and then I'll go to the section where it just plays with or without the bass. The track plays, and based on some of those different examples, the samples, you give about 10 of them on each. I'll kind of start out with that and then kind of go off on my own with that same feel through it. So I really like.
Yes, that's what I want.
I like that. Rather than, I've tried writing them out, but it's tough for me to write that small on that. But so I'll just do it from memory. But you know what I'm saying? I like that. I like just being able to play that. I don't know, and this is something that I hope to get to, and I don't know if these lessons, get you there. I can play that and feel that and go on. Like I said, you give these samples and go on with it, but I don't know that I could actually write that out. I know I can play it. I'd have to say, how would I write this out? And maybe why would I write it out? Just as long as I can do it.
You were talking earlier about sight reading, and what I had in the back of my mind, you said your sight reading has gotten so much stronger, so much better. You know what else will make you a very good reader? Writing music down. Right, even some simple grooves. Just do that, and it kind of forces you to get inside and figure out there are only so many permutations, so many variations you can have within a rhythm. There's in 4/4, which most music is in, 4 beats per measure, and that's 2 eighth notes or 4 16th notes, and that they have got some dotted figures that are possibilities, but it's math. And it's a lot of it looks overwhelming, but if you look at it and just analyze it one bar at a time or even one beat at a time, it makes sense and it clicks. And the more you do it, obviously, the better you get at it. And writing it will certainly help you do that. So I challenge you.
All right, I'll accept that challenge.
And something
I like that a lot about it because, again, when you do slow it down, you play it slowly the second time. You're reading it, you're hearing it, and I can look at those notes and say, okay, that's how that's supposed to sound when I see it written. So it's not so much thinking and counting. It's like, this is how this feels and sounds. And it's really, I wish this was around when I was, 15, 16 years old.
Well, it's very rewarding to know that I'm getting through to people like you. So I appreciate you saying that. Something else I wanted to suggest. You said, what'd you say, like maybe 40 minutes plus or minus? If you have 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, decide ahead of time what you want to work on. You may already be doing this, but my teacher used to have me keep a practice log where I would write down everything that I needed to work on. 20 minutes for scales and arpeggios, 15 minutes on string crossings, half an hour on this Vivaldi sonata that I'm working on, whatever it is. But the important thing is, don't do it and then write it down. Write it down first and then check off as you do it. And you may have a little more time, a little more energy, a little more enthusiasm for something. And, as long as it balances out, you get everything done. But that helped me a lot, and I share that with my students. So I thought that was worth mentioning right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Anything that'll, add to the knowledge.
Well, what about, I think you touched on a lot of what I wanted to ask you about, but what about the future? Is there anything that you haven't already told me that you'd like to do with your bass playing?
Well, like I said, I'm working a few days a week, and that's, going to go on for a little while here. I'm sort of not really, I haven't been hitting the internet looking, but as I go out and see different musicians play, there's been a couple guys and girls that are like playing guitar, and I'd like to get involved, not necessarily in a band that's going to be playing, you know, every Friday and Saturday night till midnight type of thing, but just to get together with other musicians and just have fun, really. I mean, hey, if you'd like me, you know, I'd like to sit in with you or just get together and play some songs. You have anything in mind you want me to work on, that kind of thing. So I've asked a few people, and so far it's not that they've said no, it's that they just live too far away. They're traveling a little far to get here.
Yeah, well, that's
but
great.
They're out.
You said having fun. That's really what it's all about. What advice do you have for somebody who wants to learn to play bass? What do you think they should be thinking about, given your experience and what you've been through?
Well, I don't want to say that I've wasted a lot of time, but I spent a lot of time practicing things that, you know, scales and stuff like that I didn't know how to apply. I think you need to have structure to your practice, and I honestly think that these lessons have just been dynamite for me. They've really made a big difference. And it's not like I never played the bass before, or didn't have, you know, some experience. I just didn't have this kind of experience, the learning experience that took you, you know, through the lessons, and you made progress. You went to the next without even realizing it, having fun learning without thinking about it. I guess it's like when you're a kid and you learn to read, you know, you start with the alphabet, phonics, and well, I don't know if they still do phonics, but the next thing you know that you're speaking sentences, and you know, speak slowly, fast.
Yep.
If that covers it, but if some, you know, person came up to me and said, you know, I really like to learn how to play bass, I would turn them on to your lessons, to the, you know, for bass players only, and wherever they wanted to start there, because it really does make a difference in your ability to absorb it.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. There's one other thing I wanted to ask you about. Most of the people that I'm attracting at For Bass Players Only are men in their 50s, 60s, 70s, sometimes even older than that. And I speak from personal experience. Some of the things that creep into our bodies when we get to be in our 50s, 60s, 70s are things like arthritis or tendinitis, or, you know, neck pain, shoulder pain, pain in the hands, and, you know, things like that. Have you look very healthy and robust, and I just wonder if any of those kinds of things or anything else has affected you. And where I'm coming from with this, a lot of people think, oh, I want to be a really great bass player, you have to have super chops to do it. No, you can really make the music feel great by playing a super simple bass line. If you understand the concept behind how grooves are built and what the role of the bass player is. So I'm just wondering if any of that kind of crosses into your world, and if you find yourself dealing with any of those things, and how my lessons have affected you.
Well, I've, you know, never been one that's been, you know, really fancy with tapping and all that different type of thing. And there's some of these, you know, double thumbing methods out there, and, you know, I guess I kind of mess around with that. And I was for a while trying that, you know, double thumbing. And boy, it wasn't more than about 5 minutes into practicing that, my arm felt, I mean, I'm not a tennis player, but I had tennis elbow going, and it's like, you know what, there's no reason to not be good and proficient at the instrument, you know, having to do some of these techniques. And you don't get into any of that stuff. And I don't think there's anything bad about it all. It sounds great, but I can still play really well and learn without having to hurt myself.
Well, that's great. I mean, there's a lot of misconception just about not even the two-handed tapping or the double thumbing, but just playing bass. If you like the Beatles, do you have to play like Paul McCartney? If you like Yes, do you have to play like Chris Squire? If you like Rush, do you have to play like Geddy Lee? Well, no, you can still play those songs and get that feel out. Sometimes you don't need more than a couple of notes per bar to still make the music feel good And I have a lot of students with arthritis and things like that that have really done a lot more than they thought they can do just from understanding that concept. So that's what I was wondering about, if you had any comment on that.
Well, I do, from the work where I work, I do, there are days where I'm pulling a lot of heavy things with my hands, and I really do feel it in the elbows. When I come home and play, yeah, there's sometimes that I can't, quite get out what I want to do, but it's like you just said, that you don't have to play anything intricate as long as you're hitting the proper notes. Again, I'll say it again, the roots and the fifths and things like that, you can get your way through a song, if you will. An experience I have with that is I played in a worship group for about 6 or 7 years back in the 90s. A lot of the music that we did, well, one of the bass players that was big at the time, that Abraham Laboriel, he played on a lot of that. And I mean, you know what, you can play those songs without playing what he did, because I don't even know how he got some of those sounds out of his bass, but it was unbelievable. But we did the songs, we played them, and people said, that sounded great. And believe me, I wasn't playing what he was. So that's proof is in the pudding right there, that you can play these songs where the bass player was like unbelievable, and you don't have to be unbelievable to make it sound good.
That's the point. And it's not too often people will turn around and yell at the bass player, "Hey, play busier." I mean, it just doesn't happen.
Oh no, not at all. I can't, and I wouldn't anyways.
Sometimes, if it's a real funky R&B or a 60s or a soul thing or something, but even those things, even James Brown, you can play two-note, doom, 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 you don't have to be Bootsy Collins or Bernard Odom or those people. By the way, Abe Laboriel, I don't know if you've come across, I interviewed him also. There's an interview with him on For Bass Players Only. He is just such a gentleman, and there's he's helped me so much over the years. He endorsed one of my books, and just a great guy. His son has a very good gig, Abe Laboriel Jr. You know who he plays with?
I do not.
He's in Paul McCartney's band. He's been with him for how long? Years. It's awesome.
Wow.
I used to go to the NAMM shows, and Abe would be playing, and his son, who was probably a teenager at the time, was on the drums, and Abe made a comment. He says, he used the words "proud papa." I didn't know if he was going to go into music, but it looks like it's inevitable. There's nothing I can do about it. And everybody, Abe Jr. So just nice people, real gentlemen.
The recent book that you have, I know there's a section for Abe Senior, it said, and I didn't realize there was a junior. Or was it Abe Junior? I don't know.
Oh, no. It's Abe Senior is the bass player. Abe Junior is the drummer. Are you talking about my funk jazz book? The Play in the Style of. Yeah, Abe is one of my favorite bass players, so he's in there. Jeff Berlin, you mentioned, is in there, and I don't know who was in there. Victor Bailey and Michelle Ndegeo cello, and Gary Willis, and James Jamerson, and I don't know. There are 30 of them there. That was a very challenging book for me to write, because when I write my lessons and my courses and my books, I write my method. I write what I think, how I want it to be played. But if I'm writing play in the style of, how would Brian Bromberg play this? How would Bakiti Kumalo play this? So it was within a structured framework. It's how would they do it, not how so I had to find that balance. Nathan East, So yeah, that was I think it was good for me to do that, to force myself to to expand within that framework. That book was delayed about 2.5 years. It was supposed to come out at the Summer NAMM show in 2020, right in the middle of COVID. So it came out in January of 22. So
yeah, well, that's something else I can add. That book and the other one, the Bass Aerobics, since the lessons for bass players only through Bottom Line Club and so on, makes that, I don't want to say easier, but more understandable and easier to tackle, because I've built up to that a little bit, I guess I'd want to say. I don't know if I would have tackled that before. I think I, might have gotten the book, looked at it, and went, I don't know. But now I'm working my way through it. Of course, I have to do it, one at a time. I can't go to the back. I got to start at the beginning. I think I'm on the sixth one now, but I'll do that. I'll work on that too, because that's the most recent book that I have.
Well, that's great. Well, just so you know about that book, they don't get necessarily progressively more difficult. They're just in alphabetical order from Victor.
Right.
So you can start anywhere if you want and get whoever you like, whoever you feel like playing. It's funny you mentioned bass aerobics a couple of times. We were talking about funk bass, slapping. My first book, Funk Bass, came with it didn't have online audio. It does now. It had a DVD, not a DVD, a CD. But before that, the original book came out in, I think, November of 1992. It had a cassette tape right in the cover of the book. And then you open it up and it was like a false cover. Then there was another cover with nothing there. That's how my first books came out. First they had a cassette tape and then a CD. And then we went with the all online thing.
I think I have that book, but I don't have the CD. CD's since gotten lost. I probably didn't have a CD player when I missed out on the cassette.
I have one somewhere, but we did a 20-year anniversary edition of that book. I pitched it to the publisher, and the guy said, I like that idea. So I went to every single person that endorsed the book in 1992, and I went back to them 20 years later, and I said, we're doing a special anniversary edition, 20-year anniversary edition. How would you feel about reiterating your endorsement, saying something like, 20 years later, it's still the best book for learning slap bass? Every single one of them came through. John Patitucci, Will Lee, Stuart Ham, the late Bob Cranshaw, who else? All 10 of them came through, which I and there's a picture of me from 1992 and a picture of me from 2012 right next to each other on the About the Author page. I guess it looked like I put a few miles on myself on 20 years, and 2012 was already a long time ago. So
yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, Matt, this is great. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm so happy to see your love of the bass and to learn of your progress and all the great things you're doing. And I wish you nothing but the best. Please reach out to me anytime. I'm always happy to help. I want to know what you're working on and what you're practicing and what kind of challenges you have and what kind of goals you have. That's in addition to everything that's already laid out in the Bottom Line Club and in Power Grooving. Being a member there, you have direct access to me, and I always welcome hearing from you. We've had a couple pretty good phone conversations, which I've always enjoyed, and always happy to hear from you, and always happy to help. So keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you. I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you. You're watching For Bass Players Only. I'm John Liebman, founder and first baseman. A lot of people think they're too old or it's too late for them to learn how to play an instrument. So I created For Bass Players Only, for people mostly over 50 who want to play bass, because I believe you're never too old and it's never too late to experience the joy and the pleasure of making music. For Bass Players Only, that's what we're all about. Thanks again to our special guest, Matt Felice. I'm John Liebman. You already know that. I'll see you all next week, same time, same place. In the meantime, let's play bass.